differently. We have been taught disease in the wrong way, family. And that's why when you get a disease, you automatically think it's a death sentence when it's not. Diseases are nothing but your body having a magnificent miracle way of trying to detoxify and heal itself. These come sometimes with pain. The symptomology from this pain is what the allopathic community actually call pathology and call diseases. But it's actually the body trying to rid itself of all of the systemic blowback and toxemia that the body has been building up just by living its everyday life and going through its everyday cycle and metabolitic processes, family. Straight up. So check this out. That's right, I am aging backwards. I love that. So if you see what I'm saying, we are actually looking at a screen. Y'all know I'm in my studio. We're looking at a screen and we see this Aboriginal American man, melanated, fully melanated, and you see a lot of different types of sequences or what you would call DNA codes across his face. And like I tell everybody when I go to the colleges and do my lectures, you know, you might see a dark-skinned brother, but when I look at you and I'm reading your face and I'm reading your eyes and I'm doing my iridology reading, I'm looking at the DNA, I'm looking at the code. So when you go into this code, let me show you how this works. So we have something called chromosomes. And what a chromosome is an entire chain of DNA along with a group that's stabilized in protein. So when you think about DNA, remember that I said DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. DNA is literally the blueprint to the cells. You have a DNA for your nose, you have DNA to make up your eyes, you have DNA to make up your fingernails, you have DNA to make up your pigmentation, you have DNA and genes that tell you the color of your eyes, how short you're going to be, how tall you're going to be. All of this is genes. These genes are wrapped up in what you would call strings or strands. These strands are wrapped up and combined in proteins. These proteins, when they combine themselves into a structure, we call it DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. And the crazy part about it, when you break down DNA like I broke down yesterday for y'all, DNA is made of amino acids, but it's stuck together by what you would call minerals. And then these minerals stick these amino acids together. And guess what the backbone of the DNA is? Sugar. Showing you the three essential things we need to live a life of homeostasis. We need sugar. Sugar is carbon. Carbon is actually alkaline. Carbon is alkaline, family. You see that? Now, if they bleach it and turn the sugar into bleach white flour, bleach white sugar, and oxidize it and stuff like that, of course it's going to have an acidic nature to it. But sugar is alkaline. Carbon is alkaline. Sugar, carbon, and melanin are the same things. Then you have amino acids that makes up the DNA. That is acidic. Then you have minerals. These minerals are mixed with cations and anions, meaning you have alkaline minerals and you actually have mucus acidic forming minerals as well. So we see that the body is always balanced. It's a mixture between acidity and it's a mixture between alkaline. All right? Now check it out, all of this stuff right here. So we see that the body make chromosomes. These chromosomes is DNA. So DNA is wrapped around these chromosomes, y'all. DNA is wrapped around these chromosomes. All right. Now, when you unravel a chromosome, you start seeing something called histines. And these are histines right here. And you see the information is being unraveled, right? And then you have timelines or time capsules within inside of the DNA that's packed with more information called histines. Okay. So we see that this is the chromosome. The chromosome is being unraveled. The histine is being revealed. We see Jacob's ladder. This is a ladder. And this is what the Melachim in Hebrew, they call them angels or angles of light. Or what we're going to call the messenger, the mRNA, or what you would literally call melanin neurotransmitters that actually go up and down this ladder and communicate with the DNA strand. Remember, I always tell you that the Bible is always talking about you. You see that? Now, let's talk about a histone. So it says a histone is a protein that provides structural support for a chromosome. Each chromosome contains a long molecule of DNA. So the DNA must wrap around the histone to have a support system. And there's a reason why I'm going through all of this first before I show you how magnificent these three superfoods is, family, which must fit in the cell nucleus. Now, the nucleus means the new sun. Everybody been teaching us since kindergarten that the nucleus of a cell is the actual brain of the cell, but we found out that that's a complete lie. If you are certified biochemistry, if you're in biology and you messing with cells in these petri dishes, you know that the actual membrane around the cell, the protective mucosa membrane around the cell, which is nothing but cholesterol, that is the actual brain of the cells, because that's what actually interacts with the environment, and that's what takes on the signals or receptors. And whatever takes on the signals and receptors and tell the cells what to do is the brain. See that? So the nucleus of the cell, where the genes and where the DNA at, don't tell the cells anything about what to do. It just holds the blueprint of how the cell's supposed to be. Okay, this is an eye cell. So when you look at the nucleus of the cell, it acts as the gonads and what you would call the nuts of the cell. Inside the cell, you got the semen. They call it the DNA. But the brain is the actual capsulated part around the cell. And it's important while we're talking about this because your food must speak to the cellular membrane. Your food must speak to the DNA. And we're eating foods that's not doing none of that. We just eating foods because it tastes good. We have to understand that the food we eat must actually interact with the cells of our body. Tell our cells to do A, B, C, or D. Showing you that food is true information. Y'all see that? Let me turn it back around. Now check out how powerful the DNA is. It says deoxyribonucleic acid is a self-replicating material. Notice what it is. It's a self-replicating material, which is present in nearly all living organisms as a main constituent of chromosomes. All right? It is the carrier of genetic information. So the first thing your DNA do, it carries genetic information. Not only does it that, it has instructions in it used for growth and development, functioning, and reproduction. So that's why when you see a cell die off, what happens is the RNA or the ribosome will take a photograph picture of DNA, then it will shoot it to the cell, to actually the cellular membrane, and then you get a new birth from a cell out of it, showing you that the membrane of the cell is actually the brain, but the gonads, or what you would call the nutsack of the cell, is the nucleus. It says if you took the DNA from all the cells in your body and you lined it up end to end, it will form a strand 6,000 million miles long. This is how much information you have inside of your family, but very, very thin. To store this information material, DNA molecules are tightly packed around amino acid compounds called proteins. See that? These histines can make structures called chromosomes. So this is how much information, and this is where you get something called the Akashic Records from. You know, a lot of people talk about the Akashic Records, and the Akashic Records is basically an infinite intelligent library within inside of your DNA that they label junk DNA, but if you activate it through breath work, if you activate it through mono-fruit fasting, if you activate it through stimulating your pineal gland, if you activate it to ADP peroxidase and just doing all things to fire off your cells real fast, you can actually open up this cosmic library and all information will be available to you at the snap of a finger, meaning every language already exists inside of your DNA. You just haven't unraveled that DNA and tapped into it yet. Every event that ever happened in existence, the past, the future, and the present, because it's only really the present now. All of this information is already in you. See what the prophets do, that's why they say, oh, you got a gift of prophecy. Now, you do have a gift of prophecy, but you have the ability to tap in the sequence of your genes and your DNA to open up the Akashic Records or what you would call the actual Akashic Library to go to a specific timeline and recall an event. That's prophecy. All this is within us, y'all. We are the gods and goddesses of this realm, and I can't speak that enough. And we see this right now. Now look, check this out. It says 1.5 gigabytes times 100 trillion cells. 150 trillion gigabytes, or 150 times 10, 12 times 9 bytes of zettabytes. So you have 150 zettabytes in your body. Do y'all understand how much information that is? That's inside of you. You literally are a walking simulation or a walking computer that holds millions and millions and millions and millions of hard drives of information. That's why knowledge is power, because you get true power when you unlock it. What if I tell you that there are 3 superfoods that can help you do that? And this is not about money. If it was about money, I would say it was 3 herbs and buy these herbs for me. I'm not even talking about herbs. I'm talking about 3 superfoods that I don't produce or that I don't make. You can go buy them from the store. You can pick them from your garden, or you can go to your local farmer's market to get it. This is just free information to stimulate the minds of my people. That's all this is. You see what I'm saying? So it behooves us to really, really listen to this information, family. Check this out. All right. It says DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. The instructions within the DNA of a single cell, if written out, would fill 1,600-page books. You are the book. You are the living word of God. You see that? If you activate the Christ consciousness within you. Each cell is a world brimming with as many as 200 trillion tiny groups of atoms called molecules. It says all 46 human chromosome threads linked together would measure more than 6 feet.